guys and girls, it's Stevie Diamond time. All right, here we go, chapter 18. I don't even remember where we left off. I'm sure you guys do. Oh yes, the last thing I saw before huge heavy hands gripped me above the elbows was a flash of yellowish brown dog leaping through the air at the silver-haired president. All right, here we go. Within 5 seconds, there were more badges around me than fleas on an alley cat. It wasn't easy, but I finally convinced them to take me back to barking buddies. The police, I mean. After loading the 3 remaining dogs into a police van, they stuck me in the back of a police car. They wanted to take me downtown, but I managed to convince them there was important evidence back at Barking Buddies. Listen, Stevie, said the cop in the passenger seat, I think it would be a good idea for you to call your parents. I took the car phone she offered and started dialing. Maybe some parents wouldn't mind being phoned at work by their daughter, who happens to be sitting in the backseat of a police car, but my parents weren't that cool. What? Squealed my mom. How? Who? When? I'll be right there. Where? My dad wasn't quite as bad. He made a few choking noises, but once he got his voice back, he was almost sensible. Stay right where you are, he said. I'm on my way. Stay. Sure thing, as if I could do anything else. A large-sized uniform got into the car on my left, and an extremely large-sized uniform got in on my right. A police sandwich. And guess who was the filling? Me. Aren't I supposed to call my lawyer or something, I asked as the car started moving. Nobody answered. I tried again. I've seen it on TV, about calling your lawyer. Silence. The big guys beside me stared straight ahead. Doesn't matter, I mumbled. I don't even have a lawyer. I wish I could have taken a picture of Galen's face as I walked into Barking Buddies with half of Vancouver police force crowding in behind me. She was talking to Deke Rifkin, but as more and more blue uniforms filed in, she started gulping instead. Her skin went the color of wet cement. Outside, there were even more police officers. I could see them through the windows. I could also see TV trucks and crews and a small crowd gathering to see what all the excitement was about. And then I spotted my dad, struggling through the TV people before getting stopped by the police. He was gesturing and pointing and showing identification, and my mom, meanwhile, had made it to the door. A uniformed police officer was at her side. There she is. That's my daughter, Stevie. Is it true? That funny-looking little dog belongs to the President of the United States? Looking a little shaky, she dropped into a plastic chair. Before I could answer, my dad burst in. Stevie, Valerie, what is going on? Both my parents started talking at once. Galen got her voice back and chimed in too. Meanwhile, I was keeping a lookout for Jesse. Where was he anyway? More importantly, how was he going to get in? If my parents had had trouble, what chance did he have? Stevie? It was a gray-haired man in a rumpled suit. He had one of those droopy, pouchy, cheeky faces with big bags under his eyes, the kind of like a bloodhound. My name is Detective Halliday. I'd like to ask you a few questions. Shoot, I said, and then I winced. Bad choice of words. Halliday didn't seem to even notice. Suppose you start by explaining how you got that little yellow dog. You know, the one that ran away at Granville Market? My dad nodded. A police officer started taking notes. Okay, no choice. I had to face the music. I told him the truth. First, how we had found swamp water and Barking Buddies on Sunday. I described what a mess she'd been, and this was hard. Explained how Jesse and I had turned her into a worse mess. A green, shaggy, half-bald mess. Henna, said my mom. My henna? Stevie, didn't you read the package? Mom, there wasn't time. Never mind. I told him how Jesse had spotted the newspaper article about Marietta and how we had figured out how that swamp water was the president's dog. It seems to me, said Halliday quietly, that would have been the perfect time to turn the dog over to the police. I know, I said, but don't you see? People would have thought that we were the prankster. Jesse and me. We have juvenile minds, right? Just like the prankster. We're medium height and athletic. Jesse has a black mountain bike and a whole shoebox full of prankster articles. The note-taking officer started writing faster. Oh, gee, what was I doing? Talking them into arresting us? Even my mom and dad looked suspicious. But we didn't. I said, scrambling for words. We couldn't, Now, why don't we just slow down a little, suggested Halliday, leaning back in his chair. He crossed his legs and twiddled his fingers, like he had all the time in the world. Yeah, slow down. Good idea. Jesse and I didn't steal the dog, I said, pausing to let it sink in, but we know who did. Halliday's thick body jerked up. What? You do? I had everyone's attention now. I could feel it in the way that they all leaned in toward me. I could hear it in the sudden silence in the room. Into that silence came a shuffling sound from the direction of Pooch Playground. It was followed by a familiar voice. "Stevie!" Jessie's upper arm was in the grip of a police officer who had to be close to 7 feet tall. Where did they get these guys, anyway? "I found this kid crawling out over the back fence," said the giant. I had to," whimpered Jessie. "They wouldn't let me come in the front." That's when I noticed what was under his left arm, the one the police officer wasn't holding. "Is that it?" I asked, hardly daring to breathe. "You were right, Stevie. Look." Breaking loose from the giant, I ran over and he handed me the book. I flipped open the back cover and grinned. "I assume," Holiday said, "that our fence climber here is your friend that you've been talking about? Jessie, it is? Excellent. Now then, you were saying you have information about the identity of the prankster." I nodded. "Jessie and I have been working on it all week. At first, we were totally on the wrong track. We thought maybe Austin Alderson, he's a kid from school, was the prankster. Or Galen Schultz over there." Galen's face went blank, then red, then white, then red. "But what?" she said. "It's okay, Galen. We know it's not you." I turned to Holiday. "You see, it wasn't till last night that we finally started thinking about all the other people we've run into over the last week. And it wasn't until last night that Jessie mentioned the yipping." "Yipping?" "It's this horrible sound that Swampwater, Marietta makes," I said. "Sounds like someone stepping on her tail. I realized last night that it was a special yip. You see, that Swampwater doesn't yip all the time. She only yips at certain people." "And who might they be?" asked Halliday. I glanced at the note-taking police officer. "Be sure to get this down. It's important." He rolled his eyes. He'd be sorry. "First, there was this guy in a brown leather jacket. He had weird orange hair, the color of carrots. We ran into him on the street on Monday, the first morning I went dog walking. I didn't know who he was, but Marietta yipped at him. Then," I added, "late that same night when I was asleep, Marietta started yipping again. She woke up the neighbors, and at the time I didn't realize it, but she was yipping at someone who was out in the courtyard beside my house, slashing the tires on my bike." "I heard Swampwater yipping that night," said Jessie. "I also heard her the next morning when she yipped at Baby Lawrence's mom. Man, what a racket." "Excuse me, Baby Lawrence's mom?" We were losing him. Quickly, I described the woman with the baby carriage who had pasted me to the sidewalk on Tuesday morning. "Baby Lawrence's mom, Detective Holiday." "Okay, I hope there's a point to all this." "There is," I promised. "The next person Marietta yipped at was Mrs. Worthington. That was on Wednesday." "Mrs. Worthington," piped up Galen, her eyebrows raised. "That distinguished older lady with a Pekingese?" I nodded. At the time, all I noticed was Brutus going after Mrs. Worthington's dog, Pugsley, but now I realize it was Marietta who started the fight by yipping at Mrs. Worthington. "Exactly what I said at the time," Galen said. "Swampwater started the trouble." "Are we coming to the end here?" interrupted Halliday. "Almost. The last time Marietta yipped was yesterday. She yipped at Leopold Zimmer, the famous dog author." "That's right, she did yip at Leo. She got Brutus so worked up. He jumped on the poor man. It was the oddest thing. Somehow I expected all the dogs to love him." "Leopold Zimmer," repeated Halliday. "Okay, so that's it for the yipping?" I nodded and glanced over at the police note-taker. "Maybe you could read that back." The officer looked startled, but I guess he couldn't figure out how to say no. "Carrot-haired man in leather jacket. Person in courtyard at night. Baby Lawrence's mom. Mrs. Worthington. Leopold Zimmer." Said Halliday with a frown that cut deep wrinkles into his forehead. "I'm not saying this hasn't been fun, but what are you saying? That one of these people is the prankster?" "Nope." Excuse me?" "Not one of them. All of them. They're all the prankster." You could actually hear it, the sound of a dozen breaths being sucked in. Then there was a rapid babble of conversation. The note-taker was scribbling like mad. "5 pranksters?" said Halliday. "Nope," I replied as the room became silent. "Not 5 pranksters. 1 prankster in 5 disguises." "Actually, 6, said Jessie. 6? I nodded. When the prankster showed up at Barking Buddy's in his 6th disguise, Marietta didn't yip at him, but that was only because she had escaped and wasn't even here at the time. The prankster's 6th disguise is as... I pointed across the room. "A Secret Service agent, and there he is. The fake Secret Service agent, Deke Rifkin." Did you know it? Did you guess it? I didn't. I thought it was pretty cool. All right, until next time. See ya.